everyone, it's Ross Anderson here from the Australian and New Zealand Boutique Wine Show with episode number 16 of Meet the Boutique Winemakers, the Trophy Edition. And this is our last interview for the Trophy Edition for 2020 and for the 2020 ANZ Boutique Wine Show. Now, we ran the Boutique Wine Show at the beginning of November, so just on three to 4 weeks ago, and we had an amazing number of entries in, considering the challenges that we faced with 2020, with more than 900 entries from Australian and New Zealand boutique winemakers. The ANZ Boutique Wine Show is celebrating 25 years of supporting the small winemakers of Australia and New Zealand. And the aim of these interviews is to inform, educate, and entertain you on all things boutique and share the stories and the personalities behind the brands, which are the heartbeat of Australian and New Zealand wine. Now, the Barossa Valley and Clare Valley are always crowd favourites, and it's easy to see why. Gomersal Wines has a rich history dating back over 100 years, so it's fair to say they have a solid handle on how to make trophy-winning wines. But we're not talking some full-throttle red wines in this interview. We're talking the more delicate and noble white varieties, and certainly my favourite, Riesling. Joining us this afternoon, direct from the Barossa, is senior winemaker Peter Pollard. Hey, Peter, how are you?
Well, thank you, Ross. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. I know you're a very busy man, so we're very happy that we managed to snag you for a quick chat.
Oh, that's right, my pleasure.
Peter, tell us how things are down in your neck of the woods at the moment.
It's obviously been a difficult rollercoaster year, but we're on the onward and upward. I think people are getting out and about now and looking to buy local. So things are, I think, a positive spin is what we're putting on it. It's going quite well.
And did you use the lockdown period to do anything new? I mean, I know you're always busy and you wear multiple hats, but if we look at the Gomersal operation, and I guess tourism was closed, did that operation spend that time doing anything around the site that they never got to, or implementing new practices or bits and pieces?
There's always stuff going on behind the scenes to improve the experience for visitors to Gomersal, but there was just more planning and strategy in how best to present the wines to the marketplace and to the consumer, and make the time for visitors to the Gomersal cellar door even better than what it was prior.
Fantastic. Do you think consumer confidence is returning?
Yes, I do. It's an interesting one. You go in and out of these lockdown periods, and people get a little bit nervy about heading out. But when everything's going on the straight and narrow, as I like to say, and people feel like they can travel a little bit more internally within the state and hopefully interstate soon. That's bringing people to the region, and people are willing to explore new things. And Gomersal is one of those sort of hidden away gems in the Barossa that not many people know about. So it's about opening it up to those people and generating more visitors. So we're seeing an uptick in people wanting it, and sales are continuing to grow, which is great.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the main point for this interview.
Yes.
Gomersal Riesling 2020 from the Clare Valley, which picked up trophy for the Riesling class, and I really meant it when I said it in the introduction. I'm a Riesling tragic over pretty much all other white wines. So congratulations on this to you and the team. It's an amazing achievement, and we love having it based where it should be in the Clare. Can you tell us a bit about the wine?
Yes, the wine is, well, to be fair, I love making Riesling every year. The Clare Valley is so pure with the fruit that it delivers. The 2020 vintage was, it had some challenges. It was dry, and it was hot, and we had very, very low yields. So we were just keen to make sure we were consistent in our approach with making it from previous years. So I've worked hard to work with the vineyard and get this picked, on flavour, but as early as possible, because we didn't want it to get overripe, and we wanted to retain that beautiful natural acidity that we get each year. and those beautiful citrus, lemon, lime characters. We worked hard with the vineyard, and we got it in what I think was pretty much on the money, the way we wanted it. So very happy with the outcome.
Absolutely. It was a decent class that was here this year, quite competitive. Previous winners, probably friends of yours or people you know. Steve Braglier over at Naked Run.
Yes.
He's always pushing the envelope with Riesling. He generally does quite well. So it was really good to see you guys get up. It's great news. But if I'm a visitor to your beautiful cellar door and sitting down, as everyone does now at cellar doors, and someone's pouring this or you're pouring this into the glass, what are you telling us as flavour descriptors? What are people looking for in the wine?
Look, I'm looking for a beautiful lifted nose. It's vibrant and fresh with those citrus characters that I was talking about before, and some of that Riverstone and acidity that sort of gives a great length on the palate. So it's I call it a bit of a fruit bomb, but it's refreshing and nice tight acidity to keep it going, and I think it will age quite well. So I always talk to the people drinking it. If they say it's a little bit acidic, I said, well, that's to give it some time in bottle age as well. So it's the cue. I'm talking to them and what they're drinking and why it's made in such a way. But yeah, I think it drinks beautifully now, but I think it'll get better with time.
And just on that, then, I love Riesling, but I love aged Riesling. How does this wine change over time? Do you know?
Well, the wine just develops all those secondary characters, and you get a bit more of a honeyed character, and the acidity still holds in there nice and well to keep it fresh. But you get these, I call them secondary and characters that I just think are delicious with the wine, and I just try and talk to the people about what that looks like and how that happens over time. And some age better than others depending on the vintage, but if you've got your principles right at the beginning with your fruit and that, you'll be able to do that each time. So I'm comfortable with that style.
Peter, can you tell us a bit about you? Tell us about your personal story and your journey in wine. You studied at Adelaide. You've worked vintages at Peter Lehman, and you've been over in the Sonoma Valley with Giza Peak. And you've got a number of other side projects and hats that you wear, and now you're senior winemaker at Angus and Bremer. Give us a bit of a snapshot of Peter Pollard.
Yes, okay. Well, I got into this industry, to be fair, as I was always a lover of the outdoors, and my uncle actually who was a winemaker in the Barossa, and he was a vineyard owner, and I always had these memories as a kid working the vineyard with him. Sitting in the tractor or helping him with the irrigation at the dam, or maybe throwing rocks in his dam or doing something silly like that. And that sort of passion grew from there. That I liked the lifestyle, the area, and unfortunately, my uncle passed away before I really got into at the beginning of my study. But at the end of the day, he was the original inspiration to get into this wonderful industry, and I've just gone from there. I love what harvest brings, something different and challenging each year. And yes, it's been an interesting journey. I'm about to complete my 20th vintage at the particular site that I work at and help make some of these various wines at, and it feels like I just began yesterday. It's just great.
And you started at Adelaide. Was that at Roseworthy or at Waite?
We'd just moved to the Waite campus at that stage, so I had a couple of subjects out at Roseworthy, which was good to see the old site. But yeah, we were lucky enough to be basically just about using the new site. It was probably in its first or second year, the Waite Winery. So yeah, good memories of uni, good friends, lifelong friends, and our industry is just great because of that. It's one of the best things I love about it.
I'd just started at Waite, so Roseworthy had shut down when I started there, which was 2004. So yeah, I saw all the facilities there, and it's an amazing setup. Really is. So, absolutely. But let's talk about one of the other wines that we had this year. Let's pop the GSM up on the screen there. What can you tell us about the Grenache Shiraz Mataro?
Yes, the GSM is what we call in our premium range. It's our sort of, we'll call it the beginnings of getting to know the Barossa in the Gomersal range. It's a fruit-driven, lively style GSM. It's 46% Grenache, 43% Shiraz, and it's just got a tickle of Mataro on the end, about 11% in this particular vintage blend. I love what the Grenache brings to this wine. It's fruity, it's spicy. Shiraz adds a little bit of a ball of fruit in the middle palate, and the Mataro just lingers all the way through to the end. And I look, this wine drinks just great now. It's a fantastic wine to have with family and friends. Whether you're casually having a glass or more formally. And it ages not too bad as well. So I've had a few of the older vintages when we first made it, and they look pretty lively and fresh too. And again, had a few people comment to me over the time that they like that style, and that's what we aim to do. So yeah, ideally it's a drink now wine, but yeah, some people like putting it down and seeing what it does over a period of time, which is great.
Now, Peter, Gomersal Wines has evolved from a boutique winery which was established in 1887 in the town of Gomersal, in the heart of the Barossa Valley. This is quite a historic setup. I mean, it's ancient. It's more than 100 years old. Do you know much about the history behind that setup initially?
A little bit. It's not my strong point. Barry and Gabs at Gomersal, who work the cellar door and help with the vineyard side of things, are more up to date with that. But the old site was an old originally set up as an old winery, and they were doing all sorts of things out the back. There's remnants of it hidden in the back, as I've explored a few times. But then Barry and Gabs have developed the experience at the Gomersal cellar door. As you can see, there's beautiful wide veranda. It's I call it a homely environment. I love going there and sitting under the veranda, having a glass of red with Barry and talking about stories of vintages gone by. And out the back, there's Barry now popping up on your screen. He's a good-looking fella, isn't he? Yeah, he's a great singer. No, he's a good mate of mine, and we work well together. He helps me bring in the grapes at their optimum each year, and can't do it without him and Gabs up there. But yeah, they've got a beautiful function centre out the back. They host weddings and all sorts of things as well. So they've developed this old historic site into something that is, just a lovely place. A nice fireplace inside, and it's just a great environment and a great place to be. Although different now because we're all seated and that, but we've adapted to this new age of rules and regulations, and it's working well. It's working well, and the Gomersal team up there, which was Barry and Gabs, are doing a great job. They're just doing. Gabby's just all over it. She's friendly. She invites people in, and most welcoming place. It's their home, and we like bringing people into it to share that experience of our wines and our story.
I'm hearing that the change in regulations, which now requires you to be seated and booked in, is having a massively positive effect for everyone. It's increasing sales, it's increasing the interaction and the loyalty, and it's helping cellar door staff and ownership control the costs and book in their staffing so they can cover things more adequately, as opposed to being ad hoc and dead quiet and then tour buses rock up. So I think this is a good thing. Absolutely.
it's become a bit more of an intimate experience almost, because you're sitting there and you're poured in a seated environment, and there's not a rush on with lots of people all at once, and it's staggered a bit more. So yeah, you get a chance when you come and visit the cellar doors around the country, particularly ours, Gomersal. We're talking about that, but yeah, it's an intimate experience to talk about the wines and share some stories.
So Peter, what would you say would be the highlights reel of, say, the last 15 years of Gomersal, or at least since your involvement?
Look, that's a good question. We've worked hard since my involvement to expand the range. You know, there was always a Shiraz, obviously, and we were just known for Shiraz, and there was sometimes a Grenache, and on and off we'd get a Mataro out of it, and there was obviously Riesling's been a steadfast thing, but we've expanded that range to be more consistent, and we've staggered the quality. So I've identified different areas of the vineyard to produce different quality wines. So we have 3 tiers of Shiraz, sort of what we call Premium Reserve and the Estate. I think we might talk about the Estate after. The GSM is a big one. Also created a Shiraz Mataro under a Lindok Road label for Gomersal, and some rosés out of Sangiovese and all sorts of interesting and wonderful things. So I think that's the biggest change in since I've been on board, and just blending for consistency each year to deliver the consumer what they, something they should get the same thing each year, as consistent as possible. So yeah, that's been one of the biggest things, and it's been a hard road, but it's been good fun to develop and put your skew on things.
Sure. And what would you say would be the biggest challenge that you faced in the same period on this site?
I think the biggest challenge is more a vineyard-related thing, as water's always a hard thing in our hotter, warming up environment. So I think issues with hotter climates and climate change and availability of water. The Western Ridge in Barossa is a bit of a hard area to grow grapes. It's tough soils, tough country. Produces a magnificently concentrated wines. The need for consistent irrigation in those hot periods is always a challenge. But there's also ever-changing tastes and so on in the market. But you've got to be still delivering what you believe in, and some consistency around that each vintage and each harvest, and reward your loyal customers. So that's probably the biggest thing. I still think making sure you remain consistent, and that is the vineyard being consistent. So
you touched on one of the other labels, the Lindok Road, and I'm going to pop it up now.
Yes.
So Lindok Road is a Shiraz Mataro. Tell us a bit about this wine.
Yeah, we sort of identified in our range sort of a missing link, both in sort of price point and sort of a different brand. So we concentrated on developing a Shiraz Mataro. Well, I thought we had the right material to go into this blend, and it's probably into its about to blend up the 3rd vintage of this coming up, and yeah, it's been highly successful. It's lots of good comments and feedback from the customer base. It's Mataro just gives it a nice change from just drinking Shiraz all the time. Barossa is known for Shiraz, and it's great, but having a Shiraz Mataro in the lineup is really diversified what we've been doing.
Yeah, it's one of my faves. Absolutely love that wine. I wanted to talk to you about something I'm really interested in, I've been talking to everyone about, and that's the topic of alternate and emerging varieties. Now, at Gomersal, you make a solid range of traditional wines, Shirazes, Cabernets, Rieslings, and then I also note, as you've mentioned, Mataro, Grenache, and Sangiovese used in blends. Where do you think the future lies in Australia around this topic of emerging and alternate varieties?
I'm excited by this area. Actually, we've actually got some bits of some different varietals planted in and around. I've been playing with a bit of Graciano in the last couple of vintages with an eye of developing that maybe as if it turns out the way I want it to, a sort of a single vineyard sort of release, small batch. I've also got coming online this year will be my first year of getting a little bit of Touriga for dry red, and I've also got some Malbec in the pipeline as well for these brands. So I think it's really important that we diversify a little bit. Shiraz is still the bread and butter. It's Barossan. It's an amazing variety. It's an adaptable variety, but we shouldn't turn our back on some of these other varieties that sit out there that can diversify taste and blending opportunities. I still haven't worked out whether I'm going to make a single vineyard, single varietal wine yet, or whether I'm going to make a blend. I'm sort of experimenting at the moment, but I think the future's quite bright for some of these emerging varietals, and they seem to be, some of them are quite adaptable and hardy to our climate as well. So, I've listed a few I'm mucking around with. There's a whole range out there that winemakers all over the country are playing with, and it's an exciting time to be doing it. But, mainstream will always be mainstream, but I think we need to have some diversification.
And taking your Gomersal hat off and putting your general hat on, do you think that it all comes into regional contributing factors as well as the varietal that's planted in that region that's going to make the difference? As in, I know you make wine out of Langhorne Creek and you've got Barossa and Clare, so do you reckon it's going to be this grows well in that region and let's do this, or it will grow differently and produce different wines, or how does that all work?
Yeah, I think some varieties will be better suited to some climates and regions more so than others, but I don't think that's a reason not to experiment and see what works and what doesn't, at least on a small scale initially, and lots of people are doing that. I also think that even you might be able to get some lighter, earlier drinking styles if it's not as suited to get to more traditional, what that variety might produce. Normally, you still might get a different outcome in a different region or different soil type. That still might be something quite amazing for us to try and drink. So I think it's a bit of both, which is sitting on the fence. Sorry, but I think you will, for some varieties, it will just be better in certain areas, but then they will grow in others, and it just depends on how that wine turns out and what taste that delivers.
Yeah, I think it's exciting times, and everyone has said the same as you. Something that is definitely growing and a lot of people testing. So watch this space, and we're noticing it with the shows.
Yep.
The growth of the Pinot Gris category. So we took it out of its blended or its other white category, made it its own. Italian reds have been split off, and now we're looking at, is there space for a Malbec? Is there space for a Mataro? Is there space for a Grenache? Just dedicated categories, and I believe there are. So interesting.
I think so. I agree. I think it is, and I'm excited by Malbec. That's putting my Langhorne Creek cap on at the moment, but
you make a killer of Malbec as well.
Yeah, and but I am going to play with it in the Barossa, because I think it's got something that we can use, whether it be a cab Malbec or a straight Malbec. I think it's got plenty of potential. So wait and see.
So let's talk Barossa just for a second there. What do you think it is that the Barossa has that constantly delivers this incredible Shiraz year after year and has built this reputation? What is that factor in your opinion?
It's soil and climate. It's old vines. The Barossa is a diverse region, so it's one spot on the Barossa will make wine or Shiraz differently to another spot in the Barossa. So I think the opportunity for diversification in your blends, if you're taking a little bit from, if you're making a bigger blend and you're taking it from one end of the Barossa to the other, you're going to make some different types of Shiraz. Gomersal's vineyard is is in, obviously I talked about Western Ridge. It's I call it tough country to grow. It's the vineyard itself is quite hilly and it's got some different aspects to it, but it's certainly a soil thing where, you know, in that particular block, there's I get two or three different types of fruit character and intensity, and that's just where I noticed the soil change, and it's a different aspect of slope as well in those blocks. So it's a strength for our wines, but for the region, you know, that's sort of exemplified across the whole of the Barossa. There's all these different areas, you know, up to Anguston, out northern Barossa, down further in, you know, you got the Eden Valley, which is sort of part of the greater Barossa area too. So there's some amazing areas to make great Shiraz, and it's a credit to the people well before me in my time who have explored all those different options, and now it's just such a well-known brand. It's known for that variety and that consistency and quality.
While we're talking Shiraz, let's have a quick chat about this wine, the Estate Shiraz 2016.
Yes. This is probably what we'll call this our icon wine. This isn't always made every vintage. This is from select parcels. So the estate is the best of the Shiraz from that vintage, if I deem it good enough to be there. It would normally come from what I call our block 2 and 3 section, and the top of that block, which is sort of on the top of a hill facing back towards the cellar door and the cellar door winery. And that's where the best fruit comes from for me. And I'll put this down to barrel, and it will usually be a mix of French and American, but the estate would usually comes out of the French oak barrels. And it's quite a concentrated. I'll call it a concentrated beast. It's a big wine. It's also, the French oak gives it length and elegance, and it's meant to drink for many years to come. Put it down and enjoy for later on. So yes, the 16 was a good year. I deemed it pretty good from our selection, and it's lots of fun tasting those barrels. Can take a while, but it's quite a good experience to go through and pick the best of the best of that harvest.
Is this you tasting the barrels?
Well, pretending. That's all a bit Photoshop there. I'm looking a little bit special, aren't I?
Just thought I'd check.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I could put Big Bad Bazza up again, but we've got to share the love around. Peter, is there anything else that you can share with us about future plans at Gomersal, maybe over the next couple of years? I mean, you've mentioned some other varieties that you might start playing with, and you've got the cellar door going, and anything else that's in the wings that you can share with us?
Oh no, they're the main things that I'm really excited about. There's a little a bit of a playing around with just opening up the area to more visitors. So, you know, with the road in front of the cellar doors being bitumised for the first time, and that's created more through traffic. And we're trying to make sure that we're not off the beaten track as much as maybe what we were once before. But most of my focus is to be fair, is the winemaking side, and maybe offering those different wines that we were talking about before, just exploring what the options are for the Gomersal brand and our consumers for the future. So that's where my focus is. Barry and Gabs have got their plans for the bigger thing for the cellar door. That's their baby. It's all our babies, but that's their place. And they're looking to open it up to more and more people and guests. It's an exciting time.
That's great. And if you weren't in wine, if you hadn't caught the wine bug, where do you think your career path may have gone?
I must admit, I probably would have been. I thought about being a vet. Actually, I was pretty keen to get into to vet science or become a vet. I did work experience at a vet when I was in high school, and I did enjoy it. But then I don't know. Maybe I got a bit squirmish in the tummy when I looked at observing some of the things that went on behind the scenes. So maybe that wasn't the best choice of career to start with. But I thought about it. I loved animals and that. But yeah, no, maybe a vet. That was probably the thing. And if you asked me many years ago when I was a real little kid, I was probably a train driver. But that's only just following what my grandfather did. So yeah. So yeah, I think wine's better.
We've all got a favourite wine memory, maybe a moment where you tasted something sublime or you can't remember it because you had too much to drink at uni. But can you tell us about your favourite wine memory?
It's probably a wine experience, actually. When I first, back in 2002, me and a group of friends from the industry, we took 6 weeks out and went to France and Italy. And we hired a car and started in Paris and went on a road trip through the regions and ended up visiting. We went through Champagne and Alsace and Burgundy and Chablis and the Rhone and into Tuscany. We didn't do Bordeaux, which was a bit disappointing, but we just organised lots of meetings with cellar doors and wineries and tasted. We were visiting 3 or 4 places a day. And so as an experience, that was one of the most amazing things I did with a great group of friends from that are lifelong friends, and we talk about it still. It was just one of those great things. It was amazing. All these great wines, meeting different winemakers, tasting current vintage stuff out of barrel with people, watching them drinking their wines from in Burgundy, going to the cellar, and he goes, "What vintage were you born in?" And he goes and cracks that bottle for you and you have a taste, and you just get to experience and appreciate like the old world and how well wines are made in those regions and how they're made to cellar and last. And even though sometimes the language was a bit iffy between our English and French and Italian sometimes, we all sort of spoke the same language in terms of appreciating wine and yeah, just great times. There's so many experiences on that trip that I'll never forget. So yeah, great time.
Yeah, I absolutely need to do that. Peter, tell us, when you're driving between the Barossa and the Clare, for example, what's playing on the radio in the car? What are you listening to?
Can I say the Wiggles? Because no, I can't.
You can say the Cockroaches, but
no. Well, I've got 3 young daughters, and they're all into the ABC Kids station. So sometimes my middle daughter, she changes the station on me, so that's what I get in the car when I turn it on. Look, I love my old music. I love the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, thanks to my dad's old record collection. But I'm sort of maybe stuck in the 90s, early 2000s with my musical taste. So anything from there. Sorry?
Grunge era?
Yeah, a little bit grungy alternate. Bit of a sucker for a bit of a pop song every now and then if it's a good one. So yeah, I love my music, but I've sort of, my ear has turned to kids stuff because that's all I hear at home when I'm not driving. So, but the favourite band's Danny Warhols. There we go. That's my they're my they're my favourite. I've seen them many times live. So yeah, I'm a sucker for their music. That's for sure. So yes, music's a big part.
I feel your pain with the ABC Wiggles. I've been through that as well. Fortunately, I persuaded them that Guns N' Roses was a child's band, and now the oldest one is a keen Gunners fan.
There you go. Don't worry. I sit with my eldest, who's 7, and I flick through bands and we talk about what I like and maybe what she might like one day or what she should do, and she likes some of the songs. So we're slowly winning. So we're not always going to be on these kids songs.
I think the trick was, is it Big W or Kmart were selling kids' T-shirts with bands' names on. So I bought a whole lot of Def Leppard and Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and I gave them to them for Christmas. And it was great seeing them run around the ballet studio with a Metallica T-shirt on. So that worked out beautifully.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, look, Peter, let's put a wrap on. I know you've got a lot to do today. Where can we buy the wines? We've got the website on the bottom at gomersalwines.com.au.
Yep.
We've got Facebook and Insta at Gomersal Wines for both of them.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you go.
No. There's a massive online presence with Gomersal through there's a cellar door online sales through the website. So that would be the first port of call. But some of the and obviously visiting the cellar door, which is magnificent if you live in South Australia or you're travelling through. There is also a couple of the lines are also in vintage cellars and Liquorland and First Choice, but that's not everything. It's just a small run of things. So there's a few places to go and find them, but I'd be directing people towards the Gomersal Wines cellar door sales online, because the website will lead you where you need to go.
And is there a members club or somewhere where people can subscribe to Gomersal?
You can subscribe on the online. There's a link there, I believe, to become a member or sign up and send your details and go from there. So more the merrier. We'll get mail out lists and members offers and go from there.
Absolutely. Especially at the moment. Now's the time to be doing it, guys. So, Peter, I'm going to let you get on with your busy day. Thank you so much for taking time out. I really do appreciate it. And it's been a great chat. I've learned a lot. So thank you. And congratulations to you and the team on this. We're dead chuffed with this. So it's amazing results. So thank you. And stay safe and have a great Christmas.
Yes, thank you very much, Ross. Thanks, everyone. I'm really happy with the result. Cheers.
Take care. All right, everyone, that's it for this last episode of the Trophy Edition. Thank you for tuning in. Please make sure you get onto gomersalwines.com.au, follow on Facebook and Instagram at Gomersal Wines, and make sure you like and you tag and you do all those bits and pieces. And let's get behind these small producers in the Barossa, in the Clare Valley. I don't know how much of this wine is left, but I guarantee you'll be delighted with it. So get on board. Get yourself a dozen, or even get onto the website and put a mixed case together. Don't forget, it's beginning of December. If you don't do it soon, you're probably not going to get the stock in time for Christmas, because there's a lot of parcels moving around the country. So get on there, get subscribing, get busy, and let's support these small businesses. That's it for now. Plenty more interviews coming up in the next few days. So until next time, stay safe, and thanks for joining us.